Hello, my wandering souls. We gather here today not as disparate individuals, but as fellow travelers on the path of growth, often finding ourselves at a familiar, frustrating crossroads, the precipice of action, paralyzed by the invisible weight of a task we are desperately trying to avoid. It's a universal human experience, this silent battle against procrastination, a force that can dim our brightest intentions and keep our most profound aspirations locked away. This avoidance isn't merely a matter of laziness. It's a complex web of emotions, fears, and a subtle, gnawing resistance that can steal our peace and chip away at our potential, one unstarted task at a time. We know what we need to do, what we want to do, yet an unseen barrier stands firm. But what if I told you that a simple, yet profoundly effective technique rooted in ancient wisdom could help you shatter these chains in just 2 minutes? A trick, not of magic, but of mindset, borrowed from the Stoics, those masters of inner resilience and purposeful action. Prepare to discover a way to gently yet decisively nudge yourself into motion, transforming that mountain of avoidance into a manageable first step. Before we unlock this 2-minute technique, let us briefly wander into the shadows of our own hesitation. Why do we avoid? The reasons are as varied as we are. Perhaps it's the fear of failure, the daunting specter that whispers we are not good enough, that our efforts will be met with disappointment. Or maybe it's the opposite, a subtle fear of success and the changes it might bring. For many, it's the sheer overwhelm of a task that seems too large, too complex, its endpoint lost in a distant fog. Perfectionism, too, plays its part, convincing us that if we cannot do it flawlessly, we should not do it at all. We might lack clarity or feel a dip in motivation, or simply be exhausted by the relentless demands of life. The Stoics, philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, would look upon these reasons with a discerning eye. They would suggest that our aversion doesn't stem from the tasks themselves, but from our judgments about them. When we label a task as too hard, too boring, or likely to end in failure, we create an emotional charge around it. This emotional reaction, this internal resistance, is what truly fuels our procrastination. Stoicism teaches that while we don't always control external events or the inherent nature of a task, we do have control over our inner responses, our perceptions, and our actions. The feeling of being overwhelmed is not an objective property of the task, but a subjective experience born from our interpretation. By understanding this, we begin to see that the power to act isn't found in changing the task, but in changing our approach to it. This is where the door to overcoming avoidance begins to open. There's a unique kind of alchemy in the act of starting. The most monumental journeys, the most complex creations, all share a common origin, a single, initial step. The resistance we feel is often most potent before we begin. Our minds conjure up all possible difficulties, magnify the effort required, and paint a picture of discomfort. However, once we take that first small action, something shifts. The inertia that held us captive begins to dissipate, replaced by the subtle hum of momentum. This isn't just a feeling, it's backed by psychological principles. The Zeigarnik effect, for instance, suggests that our brains have a greater tendency to remember uncompleted tasks than completed ones. Starting a task, even in a minimal way, plants a seed of incompletion in our minds, which then gently nudges us towards finishing it. That initial 2-minute investment can make the task feel more familiar, less alien, and often, surprisingly, less daunting than we had imagined. The perceived effort frequently outweighs the actual effort of those first few moments of engagement. By simply beginning, we pierce the illusion of the task's insurmountability. We prove to ourselves that action is possible, and in that proof, we find the courage and often the unexpected willingness to continue. This first spark doesn't just illuminate the task, it illuminates our own capability. Now, let us unveil the technique itself, the 2-minute Stoic trick to start any task you're avoiding. This is more than just setting a timer for 120 seconds. It is a conscious application of Stoic principles to disarm the resistance and reclaim your agency. Here's how it works. First, clearly identify the task you are avoiding. Name it. See it for what it is, without the layers of emotional dread you've wrapped around it. Second, make a solemn yet gentle pact with yourself. You will engage with this task for only 2 minutes. Not to finish it, not to make significant progress, not even to do it perfectly. Your sole objective is to dedicate 2 minutes of focused attention and effort to it. Third, and this is crucial for the Stoic element, for these 2 minutes, you will practice a focused indifference to the outcome and to any discomfort or distraction that arises. Your focus is entirely on the process of engaging, on the act of doing itself. Fourth, as you begin, remind yourself that this act of starting, this commitment of 2 minutes, is an exercise in virtue, specifically self-discipline and courage. It is an assertion of your rational mind over your fleeting aversions. The beauty of this trick lies in its profound simplicity and its deep psychological leverage. The commitment is so small that the resisting part of your brain can barely muster a convincing argument against it. It's just 2 minutes, you can tell yourself. Anyone can do anything for 2 minutes. This isn't about tricking yourself in a deceptive way, but about wisely negotiating with your own mind, using its own mechanisms to your advantage, guided by Stoic resolve. Let's walk through the practical application of the 2-minute Stoic trick, transforming it from a concept into a tangible tool for your daily life. Step 1. Pinpoint your resistance. Clearly identify the specific task you've been putting off. Don't just say, "my project." Be precise. Draft the introduction paragraph for my report. Or, wash the dishes from breakfast. Or, make that phone call I've been dreading. Clarity dissolves ambiguity, which often fuels avoidance. Step 2. The Stoic mindset invocation. Before you even think about the timer, take a brief moment, perhaps just 30 seconds, to mentally align yourself with Stoic principles. Remind yourself, I control my actions, not the ultimate outcome. My duty is to engage with what is before me with virtue and reason. This feeling of aversion is a judgment, and I can choose not to assent to it for these 2 minutes. The only moment that truly exists is now. I will focus on these 2 minutes. Step 3. Set your timer. Physically set a timer for 2 minutes. Use your phone, a kitchen timer, a watch, any device will do. The act of setting it is a commitment. Step 4. Engage with undivided attention, for 2 minutes only. Start the timer and begin the task. And here is the key. For these 120 seconds, bring your full presence to the activity. If it's writing, write. If it's cleaning, clean. If it's organizing, organize. Don't think about the hour that might follow, or the mountain of work still undone. Focus solely on the immediate action. If your mind wanders or feelings of resistance bubble up, gently acknowledge them, as a Stoic would, observing them without being consumed by them, and then calmly redirect your attention back to the task at hand. Remember, your goal isn't completion, it's engagement. Step 5. The 2-minute threshold. Assess with wisdom. When the timer sounds, stop. Truly stop. Now assess. How do you feel? Often you'll find that the initial barrier has been broken. The task, once started, might seem less formidable. You might even feel a natural inclination to continue. This is the magic of momentum. If you feel motivated to continue, by all means, do so. You've overcome the biggest hurdle. However, if after 2 minutes you still feel strong resistance or genuinely wish to stop, then honor your initial pact. You committed to 2 minutes and you fulfilled that commitment. This is crucial. Even if you stop, you have not failed. You have successfully practiced self-discipline. You have faced your aversion and you have taken action. This itself is a Stoic victory, a strengthening of your inner citadel. You can try again later, perhaps with another 2-minute commitment. Each attempt builds resilience. The effectiveness of the 2-minute Stoic trick is not accidental. It is deeply embedded in the core tenets of Stoic philosophy, making it a potent tool for personal development. Firstly, it directly leverages the dichotomy of control. Stoicism teaches us to differentiate between what we can control and what we cannot. We cannot always control how overwhelming a task feels initially, or whether we will complete it perfectly, or even how long it will ultimately take. But we cannot control our intention to start. We cannot control our effort for a brief, defined period of 2 minutes. By focusing on this small, controllable action, we shift from a state of helplessness to one of empowerment. Secondly, it emphasizes action and prohairesis. Prohairesis, a key Stoic concept, refers to our faculty of reasoned choice, our moral purpose, our will. Stoics believed that our true good lies in our capacity to make virtuous choices and to act in accordance with reason. The 2-minute trick is a direct exercise of prohairesis. It's a conscious decision to act, to engage with reality as it is, rather than being paralyzed by our judgments about it. Even a small action, when aligned with reason and duty, has value. Thirdly, it fosters virtue through small steps. The Stoics didn't expect perfection overnight. They valued consistent effort and the cultivation of virtues like courage, discipline, and wisdom through daily practice. Approaching a dreaded task for 2 minutes requires a small act of courage to face discomfort and a small act of discipline to follow through. Repeated over time, these small acts build a stronger, more resilient character. Fourthly, it reduces the tyranny of overwhelm. Large tasks often immobilize us because we can only see the entirety of the effort required. The 2-minute commitment shatters this intimidating whole into an almost trivial first piece. It's about making the entry point so accessible that resistance crumbles. As Seneca said, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. This trick prepares your mind for action by making the opportunity to start incredibly easy to seize. Finally, it builds psychological momentum. As mentioned earlier, starting is often the hardest part. Once we are in motion, even slightly, it becomes easier to continue. The initial resistance gives way. The task becomes demystified. This is not just a Stoic principle, but a well-observed psychological phenomenon. The Stoic contribution is the mindset with which we approach this start, not with a desperate hope for immediate flow, but with a calm resolve to simply do what is within our control for the designated time. The 2-minute Stoic trick is a powerful gateway, but its true potential unfolds when it becomes part of a broader approach to your tasks and challenges, infused with Stoic resilience. What happens after the timer goes off, and how can this small habit cultivate a more profound inner strength? If, after 2 minutes, you find the momentum to continue, then embrace it. You've used the Stoic key to unlock the door. Now you can walk through it. As you continue working, try to maintain that Stoic awareness. Focus on the process, accept imperfections, and bring your best effort to each moment, without being overly attached to the final outcome. If the resistance is still strong after 2 minutes, and you choose to stop, do so without self-recrimination. You upheld your agreement. You practiced discipline. The Stoic doesn't berate themselves for things outside their complete control, which can include deep-seated aversions or genuine fatigue. Instead, they would reflect, what can I learn from this resistance? Is there a smaller, more manageable first step within the 2-minute framework I could define next time? Perhaps the task needs to be broken down even further. Or perhaps I need to address underlying factors like tiredness or lack of clarity before re-engaging. This practice is not about forcing yourself relentlessly, but about training your will with wisdom. You can use this technique multiple times a day for different tasks, or even for the same task in several 2-minute bursts, separated by mindful breaks. This is akin to interval training for your focus and discipline. Over time, you may find that the initial 2 minutes naturally extend. You begin to trust your ability to start, and the fear of engagement diminishes. The trick becomes less of a trick and more of a habit. The habit of meeting resistance with reasoned action. Furthermore, apply the underlying Stoic principles more broadly. When facing any challenge, ask yourself, what is within my control here? What is the most virtuous and rational way to act right now? How can I focus on the process rather than becoming overwhelmed by the potential outcomes or difficulties? This 2-minute practice can be a daily reminder of these larger Stoic truths, helping you to cultivate a mindset of resilience, purpose, and inner peace, not just in starting tasks, but in navigating all aspects of your life. We've journeyed through the landscape of avoidance, explored the wisdom of Stoic thought, and unveiled a practical 2-minute technique to reclaim your power of initiative. The 2-minute Stoic trick is not a panacea for all life's challenges, but it is a remarkably effective tool for overcoming that initial, often paralyzing hurdle of starting. It's a testament to the Stoic understanding that true freedom and strength are forged in the crucible of our daily choices and actions, no matter how small they may seem. The weight of an unstarted task is often heavier than the task itself, By committing to just 2 minutes of focused, stoically minded effort, you lighten that load, you break the spell of inertia, and you affirm your capacity for self-directed action. You engage with the present moment, the only place where your power truly resides. So I invite you, my wandering souls, to try it. The next time you find yourself standing before a task you're avoiding, remember this simple pact. Give it 2 minutes of your focused presence, imbued with stoic resolve. Observe what happens not just to the task, but within you. This small investment of time could be the beginning of a profound shift in how you approach your goals, your duties, and your growth. Thank you for joining us on Wandering Souls today. If this wisdom resonated with you, and if you're ready to take that first small step, please support our journey together. Subscribe to our channel for more insights into personal and spiritual growth. If you found value in this discussion, hit that like button. It truly helps us reach more souls. And to ensure you don't miss our future explorations, turn on notifications. Finally, if you know someone who might benefit from this 2-minute Stoic trick, share this video with them. May your path be filled with purposeful action and inner peace.